Good Monday morning and welcome to Monday Musings in the Midwest. I'm Barrett Collins, your host, and I hope you're prepared to have a wonderful week this week. Let's start it off with today's Monday Musings. Again, I'm a retired attorney and an educator. I do not create an attorney-client relationship with this show, nor do I give legal advice. But we talk about those topics, I hope, in a fun way. Hey, a quick parenting tip. Parents, time to go back to school. Start weaning those kiddos off those cell phones, iPads, and other devices. A lot of states have passed the no cell bell to bell. In other words, kids can't have their cell phones in school. There were some good results from that. There was more focus from the children and things like that. They found that it's been a productive thing. So start weaning that kid off those cell phone devices and start establishing that routine. If they go to school at 8 o'clock, you better get them up so you can get them out the door at whatever time you need to. It's that time of year. It's August 3rd today. Wow. 3 days of August have already passed and I don't remember them. They just go so quickly. We are officially in what are called the dog days of summer. That late July, early August is the dog days. So if you're in a heat wave, keep yourself cool. I do know in the Midwest there are a series of cold fronts coming through this week. So anyway, so I had a number of comments. People really like the quicker 15-minute format. So I'm going to try to not talk as much, but get to the heat of the matter. So let's turn to the legal topics. And I'm going to focus a lot on the Lindsay Clancy trial. It's being held in Plymouth, Massachusetts. Again, very quickly, in 2023, I believe, Lindsay Clancy was suffering from postpartum depression. And I know, guys, you can't suffer from that. A lot of women didn't. I, thank God, did not. But it's can be a very serious and trying situation. And she was suffering from it, and they recognized it, and she was getting treatment. Now, there is some controversy about whether she was following the treatment, whether the treatment was done right. Doesn't matter. Long and short of it, she ended up killing her 3 children, ages 5, 3, and 8 months, while her husband was off getting dinner and going to CVS. Used exercise bands to strangle them, and they were in the basement. Horrible, horrible situation. She is on trial for murder. Again, the great controversy, we talked about it last week, was whether or not she should be on trial because she was suffering from postpartum depression. All right, I had some people say, Kim, why? Well, the decision to charge or not to charge is up to the county attorney or whoever, the district attorney, whoever is the main prosecutor over that area. And this prosecution team decided to charge her. Now remember, it is not a standard of, was she mentally ill? Was she suffering from postpartum depression? It doesn't really matter if she was psychotic or psychotic, having a psychosis issue at that time. Doesn't matter. At the time, the only standard is, at the time she was choking those children to death with those exercise bands, did she know the difference between right and wrong? Now, here's the thing. If I choke my children, my actions afterwards can be compelling testimony about whether I knew right from wrong. Miss Clancy chose to try to kill herself by jumping out a second-story window. And I think the prosecution is arguing that that choice showed, oh, I did something wrong. Shows what they call consciousness of guilt. You are conscious of what you did was wrong. You are conscious that that was a guilty act. And so by trying to kill herself, she's actually showing she knew right from wrong. I don't know. I don't know. I've been watching as much of it as I can. It's just a heartbreaking case. Her then husband, Patrick, testified for 2.5 days. It was heartbreaking. You could tell he was very definitely not siding with Lindsay, but he supported Lindsay, even though they're divorced. Sorry, Diet Pepsi time. I think he believes that she was suffering enough that she should not have been charged. He testified in a manner that was both helpful to the state and helpful for the defense. And he was listed by both of them. I will tell you that Patrick wrote a tribute on social media. If you can find it, read it. I would read it to you, but it'd take too long. But basically what he said is, my wife and I had a wonderful marriage. Even through all of this, our marriage was growing stronger. I loved her. I forgive her. And I've got to tell you, if somebody murdered my children, I would have a hard time even forgiving them. So it just shows what a wonderful man he was. Now, he has moved on. He has remarried. They got divorced in 2023. He has remarried and is building a new life in another state. And I wish him all the best. I hope it goes well. But let's get back to the trial. Okay, so what the prosecution has to do is prove at the time whether she was suffering psychosis or some kind of manic episode or whatever her mental illness was manifesting at. Did she know the difference between right and wrong? That's it. That's the simple thing. Not that she was suffering, but that at the time she was choking those children, strangling those children to death with exercise bands, that she knew that it was wrong, that she had some semblance of, I shouldn't be doing this. I don't know. There is a parallel case in Texas. I don't know if you remember the name Andrea Yates. It was in the 80s. Don't quote me. I think it was in 1988 or 89. Andrea Yates had postpartum depression. She had severe postpartum depression after each of her children, but horrible postpartum depression after her 5th child. Had become very, very religious, and I'm not saying that's a bad thing, don't take me wrong, but somehow in her religious fervor, along with her mental problems, she decided Satan was coming to get her children. And her husband left for work. Her mother or her mother-in-law was coming to be with Andrea and the children, but there was a gap. Maybe an hour gap. I don't remember, don't quote me, but there was a gap between when the husband left and when the mother was supposed to show up. And in that time, Andrea Yates took her 5 children into the bathroom, drowned them, took them out of the bathroom, laid them on the master bed, and covered them all up with a sheet. And then she called 911. So let's say it was an hour time period. In that time period, she had time to drown 5 children, including one that was 7 or 8 years old. So not a pretty situation. Miss Yates was tried in Texas. She was convicted of murder of the 5 children. There was an appeal, and we've talked about appeals. Appeals are a great way to make sure that our system of justice, our democracy, works well. There was an appeal. Her appeal was overturned. It was sent back for a new trial. In the second trial, Miss Yates was found not guilty by reason of insanity. Another horrible situation parallels it. That's why I'm bringing it up. Miss Yates, though people say, oh, not guilty by reason of insanity, they get out. No, they are confined to an institution until such time as the institution can certify that they are able to live in society without threat to society. And many times they never get out. I will tell you, Miss Yates is in an institution. She has had opportunities to have her case reviewed to see if she can get out, and It's my understanding that so far she has chosen not to even have her case reviewed for that possibility to get out. So it's a parallel case. In Texas, she was initially convicted. The second trial, she was found not guilty by reason of insanity. So Ms. Yates has been institutionalized for 30 years. I hope and pray that she's getting the treatment she needs to be better. Let's go back to Massachusetts, Lindsay Clancy. I don't know what they're going to find. I think, let me say this. Lindsay Clancy has a 75-year-old attorney, and he is doing an outstanding job. He is not a showman. He's very, if you watch the trial, you will see that he's like, sure, that evidence can come in, because he knows it can. I mean, he's not going to do battle about everything. He's being a gentleman. He's being gentle. He's acting the way I believe most attorneys should act. You don't have to hate the other side. You can act in a manner that just gets your case across. So if you want to watch some good attorney work, both sides are doing an excellent job. I wouldn't say they aren't. But this 75-year-old attorney who is defending Lindsay Clancy is doing an excellent job. Well, I did have a question. One of the viewers sent me a question saying, well, Patrick Clancy filed suit. What could he gain by this? Well, the interesting side is, if you've got a crime, a lot of times you've got a civil case as well. Patrick Clancy has filed suit. I have not read the whole thing. Patrick Clancy filed as the representative of the children. As their father, they are now deceased. He is their representative. He filed on behalf of the children, alleging, among other things, malpractice. Okay. The other thing that's not known is that Lindsay Clancy has filed a civil suit alleging malpractice. Now, she's filed against more people. She's filed against the hospital. She's filed against doctors. She's filed against everybody. If Lindsay Clancy wins her civil suit, she will, she really can't benefit from it, but she would be able to use that money to get future treatment. Could Lindsay Clancy join in the suit by Patrick Clancy on behalf of the children? No. A lot of states have what they're called killer statutes or slayer statutes. If you have murdered somebody or unalived somebody, you can't benefit from their death. And Lindsay Clancy benefiting from Patrick Clancy's lawsuit would probably not allow her to have any benefit. There, maybe if she's found not guilty by reason of insanity, there's a chance, but I think she's filed a separate suit just to take care of that. So here's the one point I'd like to drive home, though. When there is a crime, there is always the possibility of that civil suit. And let's do a parenting trip. Parents, courts are finding parents liable for their children's actions on a more frequent basis. For a number of years, parents would get by with saying, "Oh, I didn't know my son was doing that. Don't hold me liable." But in some of the slayings, like the Cole Gray case, Cole Gray went into a school and unfortunately decided to shoot some of his classmates and teachers and other things. His father was found liable for his actions. And there's the case in Michigan where the young man went into his school with a gun and unalived some people. Both of his parents were found liable. So let me give you an example. You've got your son or daughter on one of those electric bikes and they're 13, 14 years old, or an electric scooter or any kind of mini bike, and you're not thinking anything about it, but they get out in the street and they cause a wreck because somebody has to swerve. You as a parent could be found liable for that. So remember that. But that's what I wanted to cover with Lindsay Clancy. It's a heartbreaking trial. It's been interesting. I guess the 911 call was so horrible because Patrick Clancy, when he called 911, was on the phone when he found his children in the basement of his home, deceased. That they excused Mr. Clancy from the courtroom and did not play it at all. I mean, they played it for the courtroom, but not for anybody else. So you couldn't see it. You couldn't hear it. I haven't heard it, but it's my understanding many people in the courtroom were absolutely sobbing over that heartbreaking discovery. So yes, there are trials. Most trials break my heart. What we learned from this one, I hope, is that maybe we can get some more focus on postpartum depression, because it is an affliction a lot of women suffer from. It's not made up, it's not funny, and it can be anywhere from, fairly mild, where you're just struggling with some things, to Lindsay Clancy, Andrea Yates type, full psychosis. So let's hope that this brings some emphasis to that unfortunate affliction that comes after a joyous birth. I mean, you're bringing new life into the world, but sometimes it comes with consequences. I think what I've gained from this trial is, first of all, her husband's ability to forgive and be devoted and not take sides in this, to be devoted to his ex-wife, to say, I forgive her, to say, I love her, that she's a good woman, just tugs at my heartstrings. And then the parallels between this and Andrea Yates are too close and too similar, and we haven't learned a lot in the 45 years since the Andrea Yates issue, or 35 years, whatever it's been. So it's an issue I hope that you can be happy I'm following, but it's also an issue that I know really causes some people great distress. Let's change gears a little bit, okay? I had a viewer reach out to me and say, I know what you were saying in your last management moment where you said, hey, lead by example. If you're not going to let your employees do it, don't do it. And this person actually said, I became a manager, I did my time, I should be able to do what I want. Well, that's true. As a manager, you do have some perks. But just remember, your employees are watching you. And so if you become a manager and start becoming unreliable, or start taking advantage of it, or push work off onto others that you're not willing to do yourself, always remember you need to lead by example. And yes, you worked hard to become a manager. Good for you. But I'll bet in working hard to become a manager, you kind of tried to toe the line and do things the way you should. Lead by example. I would even fold documents. If we had a bunch of brochures that we couldn't get folded any other way, I would stand and help fold brochures. People notice that kind of thing. Be willing to do what others have to do. Show that you are not above doing anything. My management tip of the week. Hey, with that, I hope you've enjoyed these sessions. I am purposely trying to keep them shorter, but I'm done musing on this Monday. I hope to see you next week. If you are on YouTube, please crush that like button. It really helps my channel. And notice I'm not making anybody subscribe. I just am trying to provide information that I hope you find valuable. Feel free to leave me a comment here in the YouTube channel or on Facebook, but hit that like button. It helps me. Everybody, goodbye. Have a great week. We'll see you next Monday as I muse in the Midwest. I'm Barrett Collins reporting. Goodbye.